Welcome to the 25 Keys to Love, where you learn to transform negative behavior in your emotional life and create enriching relationships. So this is what happens when the strongest aspect to your moon, the strongest contact to your moon, which represents your emotional life and your need for security, is from Saturn. So imagine it's your partner who has the moon-Saturn connection. How they act, what attracted you to them? Well, you'll find that they're kind of serious and reserved emotionally, a little bit kind of inhibited. You'll see them initially as a very self-sufficient, sort of mature. They kind of can look after themselves, so to speak. They have maybe a kind of formal approach, but when you get to know them, you find that they can get moody, they can get depressed. And they'll be very disciplined and responsible. Maybe a little demanding also emotionally. So as you get to know them, where they first seem kind of cool, they could look after themselves. They didn't need you so much. When they realise they've got the kind of stronger bond, they want to get their emotional needs fulfilled. So they kind of get a bit needy. And the reason they're like this is that as a child, there was probably a lot of responsibilities. It's quite likely that their mother worked a lot, for example, or somehow the roles were reversed and the child had to take more responsibility for the mother or the family in general. And another thing is like the love, which maybe should have been spontaneous as in childhood, was conditional. If the child performed in a certain way, then there was like some kind of love. And then the family environment might have been like a very traditional, a little bit kind of inhibited. So how do you feel when you're with this kind of person? Well, what can you do about it? You see them, as you get more intimate, they'll start to become more needy, I think. And then when you can't kind of fulfill their needs because it's difficult, then they get defensive, so they can do it. Suddenly they can do without the intimacy, but they kind of got a bit of a grudge, because they feel they've been rejected. They're really kind of sensitive to rejection, but they might not show it. They're not very spontaneous either, so they're not going to show a spontaneous affection normally. They're worried about rejection, and then they also can easily get into a sort of depressive mood. So they need a lot of reassurance. When they withdraw, don't you withdraw? If they're asking a lot, like their emotional needs is too much, try and explain how you feel, but don't withdraw and show appreciation. For them, because they never got back very much as a child, so they need it. But a moon Saturn in a partner's horoscope, it brings a relationship that starts cool, gets emotionally demanding, and settles into a kind of mutual responsibility. You can rely on these people. You have to work hard to counteract the kind of low expectations, but you're very likely to have a loyal partner. So what happens if you've got this moon-Saturn connection? How do you act, and why do you act like you do? You might initially be very frightened to commit because you of this sensitivity to rejection. And when you commit, then you want this long hug to hang on. And then if you get kind of pushed away a little bit, then you misinterpret it as a rejection. And this kind of pattern can actually evoke rejection. People kind of get attracted to you because you seem self-sufficient, and then if you're not, they might not have the capacity to fulfill your emotional needs. But generally, you will, be willing to take responsibility and be patient that to make the relationship work. And the reason you're like this is because of this childhood influence, which is a difficult childhood. The mother wasn't warm. The mother gave conditional love. Maybe the mother just didn't have the emotional resources to give you. So experience kind of taught you not to expect a lot, that life could be quite hard. And what you need to do, it's like it's a fool who plays it cool for making their world a little cooler. So you don't want to play it cool initially in relationships. You want to show your vulnerabilities, to a certain extent. So don't be too reserved in the beginning of a relationship, but then don't be too needy. And give. Don't forget about receiving. The more you give, you get back. So don't be, expecting. You can be steady, you can be faithful, and you can be tough and emotionally self-sufficient, and partners can appreciate that. So when you're conscious of your emotional defenses, and when you learn to show vulnerability, relationship kind of soften up. You'll just have to be your own parent, because no one else can.